time has come to conquer our last remaining frontiers and lead the resistance to victory on all fronts.
Hey folks, welcome back to GameSpot Stage right here at the Electronic Triple. It's time to talk about fractured buttholes.
No,
cannot wait for this one.
Single.
Oh, sorry, just a single one?
The fractured butthole.
Jason
It's 2
Schroeder,
words.
I'm so sorry.
Very
Lead
important
on
branding,
fractured
it's important.
butthole. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to
My
myself
pleasure.
and Mike
My absolute pleasure.
about your beautiful fractured butthole. Congratulations, you did a great little bit on the whole place falling apart the minute you come down here.
It's fracturing right around me.
How was your time on the stage trying to wrangle Trey and Matt?
It was fun. It was exhilarating. I barely remember it. Like, it was sort of an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
We had did a single rehearsal.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was not anything like the one we did live, so it was pretty fun.
It was good.
The main thing is just we meet very, very, very regularly. So,
Right.
like, all of the game design meetings, we basically were like, let's just go up there and kind of have a meeting. I was like, I have some prepared videos that I
Right.
kind of need to make sure we hit, so you guys will say some stuff, and every once in a while I'll go, backstory, we should talk about backstory, because there's a really great video about it.
Yeah, what's that relationship like, I guess? Like, how involved are... It seemed like they were incredibly involved in the Stick of Truth, writing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that the same case here?
I mean, they write. They're like the creative directors and the lead writers and like the head editorial, and it's just like they're super duper involved. Like, I think that they could be making a movie, they could be making another play, but
Yeah.
they're choosing to sort of divert all that energy into making a great game.
Yeah, and it was really interesting watching sort of the series after the Stick of Truth, because there was so much random video game related stuff in there. Like, you could tell they were like visiting websites and Reddit and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that anytime you watch an episode and you're like, where do they come up with that? It's like, yeah, it's just what they're thinking about. It's just what they're very personally doing, and it's either the boys are saying stuff or Randy's saying stuff. And
So what's it been like for you then working? You worked on Stick of Truth as well, right?
I was working on Rocksmith at that time.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So what's the sort of impetus been around doing the sequel? Has it come from those guys? Was there sort of unfinished business left in that, or
Sure.
have you guys dragged in like a bunch of people who wouldn't have played a South Park game before, and you kind of want to service them again?
Well, I think it's a few things. Like, Ubisoft was really happy with how the Stick of Truth was received, and then I think South Park was like, well, I mean, people liked it, but what if we did it even better?
Right.
And like, oh, well, we wouldn't want to do that, and it's like, well, but if we did do it, it would be about superheroes, because we liked the Coon and Friends. Like, yeah, well, what would we call it? And then I think he's like, the Fractured Butthole. Okay, we have to make that, because now I want to see that on a giant billboard, and and we'll get Ubisoft to pay for it. Done.
Good stuff. You just completed it recently, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I've been putting it off for so long for some reason that my roommate was like, all right, he heard I hadn't played it, and he's like,
Okay.
let's play it.
Yeah.
And just like from the outset, I had played Undertale right before that.
Right.
And
So
they're
different
very
mood.
different games, but they're also like kind of play with what you expect from RPGs.
Yeah.
Very much like in the classes of Stick of Truth, especially. Is I don't know what's appropriate to say on the stage.
Anything.
Trepidation.
We already said fractured butthole a bunch.
Yeah, I guess so. But no, it's.
Did you play as a Jew?
Yes.
Okay. I'll get it out there for you.
Yeah. No, it's and then well, obviously the whole when you're picking your name or whatever, he's like,
Yeah.
"Are you sure it's not douchebag?"
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I believe you entered douchebag. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I think you entered douchebag.
All right. Confirmed. Douchebag.
So, so what type of sequel is the Fractured Butthole then? Is it like, are you using those same RPG mechanics and layering on a new story, or are you trying to move some new stuff in there?
It's this. You're the new kid still from Stick of Truth, so like the familiarity of the town and everything will feel really good. But I think Stick of Truth ended up being largely sort of satirical about all games, and this is little bit satirical about movies and entertainment in general,
Right.
and just sort of everyone. It's funny that everyone like that's just a normal like mass market person at this point understands an origin story and conflict and crooked cops and like what you really need to do to be a superhero these days, and just like the citizens of South Park kind of getting caught up in the kids' game and just being a part of their sort of fantasy.
So does it play similarly to Stick of Truth, kind of? Will people be used to that? I mean, because there is an element of if it ain't broke, don't fix it there. But then, you know, you're making a sequel, you want to add something.
I mean, you were able to finish Stick of Truth pretty short order. And like I think we still want that level of, you know, Ubisoft has games that can take you a lifetime to complete.
Right, totally.
Do everything.
Yeah. I mean, there's no shortage of those.
This one, I mean, we want it to, it's big, but we want people to not feel like I'm never going to be able to finish that.
Right.
And that's nice. So for Fractured, I think that the combat is obviously a big change. So the last time it was turn-based, just you each stick on a side, and this time it's still turn-based, which gives us a lot of flexibility to get in jokes and like, timing, and have the time to hear the joke delivered. But it also, we wanted more depth, so we were talking about, it kind of sucks that when you're able to like explore around South Park, but then we have this little cutaway, and then you're kind of fighting in an approximation of the place you were just exploring.
Yeah.
We're like, we really want to just have a fight in that kitchen. We want to have a fight in Cartman's kitchen, and we want to have a fight on Main Street, not an approximation of it. And so in order to do that, we're like, well, why would you have to no longer be able to move if you were just exploring? So like, okay, well, let's move. And then I realized, oh my god, I just quadrupled or maybe octupled the amount of animation work we have to do, but totally worth it, because now you can like knock each other around and really...
just watching.
Are you seeing?
Just watching the hero. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, those are time farts, which we can totally talk about as well.
Slow down time when you fart?
It changes the turn order if you do it during combat.
Okay.
So in a turn-based game, if you can manipulate the turn order, it's one of those weird things of the boys are always imagining that they're superheroes, but somehow they're always kind of also having a real impact on the world. So there's this sort of weird mind game of, are you really farting so bad that it's breaking time, or is everyone just agreeing to switch up the turn order because you farted?
Do you still have... Oh, sorry. Do you still have like character archetypes you choose from for your character? Like not classes, but kind of, you know.
We have classes actually, because we took the superhero class types that you might play in like a superhero tabletop RPG, and so you can be a speedster, blaster, or like a brick. So you could be like a thing, Quicksilver, Cyclops, and sort of mix and match those powers so that you like have a defensive thing, but you can move fast and shoot blasters, because you're kids and you're just sort of like revising the rules based on okay, you can have another class, but you know you have to have this new kryptonite or whatever. Like they're just making stuff up.
There's a bunch of questions coming in. So many of them I cannot possibly say, but keep them coming in. Did you change the town of South Park? Asks Thematgary, or is the map the same? So yeah, how do you even like deal with that, considering like it exists? Right? There's a South Park canon.
You
somewhat.
As the new kids still live next door to Butters.
Great.
And Butters lives next door to Eric. So it's that sort of familiar stuff is there. But then at the same time, we needed to add new businesses. So because in a superhero show, you need that sort of like dirty place that you go to. So we have like the Peppermint Hippo, which is their strip club, and Buca di Fagaccini, which is their Italian restaurant.
So what's that called again?
Buca di Fagaccini.
Okay, yeah. Is the Peppermint Hippo in any way a play on Spearmint Rhino?
Never heard of it.
That was a place we saw recently. We're in like Santa Barbara on the drive down here.
I can't see the connection. I have no idea.
Sure you.
Yeah.
All right.
But like we have the ruins of Soda Sopa are still built up around Kenny's house from the last season. So you can sort of see like season 19's blending into this version of South Park.
So I was going to ask something, and then you mentioned the Spearmint Rhino thing, and it's completely gone out of my head. I guess when Trey and Matt were on the stage, they talked about the Kanye West sort of
the
mini
touching
game.
moments in our game.
There might be. Is that actually in the game?
That exists.
That is actually in the
game.
game.
You will
so
help a gay fish's mom get to heaven.
Okay. So
it's going to be emotional for everyone.
It's like internal. It's like you have a game within a game.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've
added value.
Like in the last game, you went to Canada, and just sort of the stuff that kind of takes your expectations and subverts it. Like we're definitely still finding that sort of stuff, and just trying to get you to just not just do the same thing every moment.
Do you have any idea like what games those guys play? Did they ever come to you and say like, oh look, I've been playing a bunch of this?
Well, that's what makes it really easy to collaborate with them, is that they are both big gamers.
Right.
So just like, when you're working with game developers and you're like, well, like this, I was playing this weekend, and they did this really smart thing. The same exact way, like right now, not because of a Ubisoft thing, Matt Stone is playing The Division like crazy. So like that's a really good touchstone for us to talk about. Oh, well, the reason they did that, and we could do something like that in our game, really unifies that language. Trey has been playing a lot of RPGs, but he also plays a ton of tabletop games.
Right, okay.
So he's a dungeon master and runs his own campaign.
Oh, really?
And for him, then a lot of those mechanics and a lot of those like tactics, things that we're doing are also things that he's sort of, just like a good game design lead, he's like, well, let's prototype it in a little board game scenario.
It doesn't get irritating when they're like, because like to me that sounds like every person on the internet ever. It's like, oh, you should have done it like that. Like I really like this part of like The Witcher. Could you like stick that in?
Yeah,
there?
when you have editorial control, you could totally say that if you want.
I got a bit of like, it was like Stanley Parable-esque stuff with Cartman narrating over.
Yeah. So what you're seeing there is actually Cartman has an interactive backstory with you. So you go to Cartman, who's the coon, and he is trying to build up his franchise, and he wants you to be a marketable superhero because he wants you to be a part of making $1 billion for him. And so that means that you need to have a compelling backstory. And what we did is we used that interactive backstory to actually train you on your new powers.
Got it.
So if you unlock a speedster, rather than just throwing you out in the world like you were a Jew and you're like, I have no idea what that's going to mean, but it's a long-term consequence, and now you're locked into it.
That's the big problem, like all role-playing games.
Yeah, so you choose Speedster, and he gets to, like, did you like those powers? Would you like to try something else? Like, no matter what, you're never going to be in time to stop your dad from, how much can I say?
You just want to say whatever you want.
Yeah, you'll never be in time to stop your dad from fucking your mom.
Okay.
Like, no matter what. That's the problem with being a superhero that's just, has that painful origin story.
Sparksby asking, will the new upcoming season of South Park influence the game or vice versa? Is there any crossover? Does that sort of stuff happen? I mean, there's like elements of the seasons you can see in the game.
I mean, we're coming out in December, and South Park season 20 will be running from September to December. So I think it's much more likely to hit DLC than it is the game, just like because they don't know what they're doing in season 20 right now. Like legitimately, no idea. They will walk in September and go, what's on our minds, and let's get that onto the screen in 6 days.
I feel so old that there are 20 seasons of South Park. Like I remember being like feeling like I was like an old person, like an older teenager when it started out. I guess it's been ridiculous.
I think people have sort of grown up and had their minds twisted by it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Who buys this game then, do you think? Because like I don't even know who the audience for, because the audience for South Park everybody. Because like to me the audience for South Park is like people like our age who grew up watching it, but presumably there are like younger folks watching it as well.
One of these weird things about Stick is that like we start seeing people playing it online, and then they start playing it because they saw someone else playing it online and sharing those videos, and then they're like, man, this game's so great. Did you hear they made a cartoon out of it?
You kidding me? Is that actually
like, wow, that's such a weird way to approach that. Like, we just never really anticipated it.
Yeah.
And so now with Fractured, we're just like, we want moms to play it, and that seems like it's a weird thing. Like, whoa, moms. It's like, no, man, moms have become moms while South Park has been has been
terrifying.
Running, right?
Oh my God.
So someone's dad fucked
something. Yeah,
right, and now, but she's still into South Park. Totally get in there and play, because we're trying to make something that's both like a good game, and like gamers are going to feel like, cool, it's a tactics game, and I get it.
Right.
But if you just want to experience it, you shouldn't be intimidated, and like all those jokes are there for you as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like the first with Stick, it kind of seemed initially like it would be tough to sell. Right? I mean, you have South Park fans, which will go for it. But then, like, people start playing it little by little. They're like, no, it's not just a South Park game. It's like a good RPG. Is that like? I imagine it's a little easier to wrap your people's heads around Fractured Butthole.
Right, on the second time around, they kind of know what it is, right?
Yeah, there's a level of expectation that we're definitely going to have to hit it and go beyond it, and I think we definitely do that with combat and being able to explore the environments, and really, we've just improved on everything. The farting is more visceral and interactive than ever before.
Dynamic. There's emergent farts now?
Right, yeah, sure, yeah.
Definitely analog farts. It's really important that like both analog sticks are controlling sort of a sphincter and gas pushing sort of
right,
thing.
Yeah, really, emergent sort of visceral, as you said.
Yeah, next gen, man.
Yeah, it's wonderful. What a wonderful age we live in.
Yes.
It's just Thank you so much, Jason.
No problem at all.
Brightening up my afternoon. South Park
pleasure.
and the Fractured Butthole. When is it out and on what platforms?
December 6th on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC.
Just in time for the holidays.
Right.
Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your electronic triple. We'll be back in just a minute, folks. Thank you so much for all of your questions, especially the ones I could not pause. Oh my God! I have to delete this
So
whole thing.
offensive.
A bit of a change of pace. We're going to have David Cage on in a second to talk about Detroit, Become Human. So stick around.
You're watching the GameSpot stage, brought to you by Airheads.